So our central question for this video, how do we write equations of lines in standard form? So we're going to start by reviewing what the three different forms of linear equations are. Two of them we have worked with actually using and writing equations in those forms, and then the other one I just mentioned in one of the previous videos. So let's start with our first one. Slope-intercept form. So this was the first one that we learned, and we learned it in Standard 5 when we were graphing linear equations. And then we used it recently to write equations given 2 points, given the slope at a point, and finding the line intercept. Also using some function notation and writing equations in slope-intercept form. So that's y equals mx plus b. The next one is point-slope form. Okay, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Each of these have some significance. Sometimes one is more convenient than the other. And when you get into some other math classes, you'll see some more usefulness for both of these than just simply different forms of writing equations. The one we're going to talk about today is standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. So basically this format puts the x and the y on the same side of the equation together, and it equals a constant c. A, b, and c are real numbers. Typically they tend to be integers. We want to avoid the fractions and decimals to put it in true standard form. And I will show you later how you can get rid of some of those fractions and decimals to make it look neater in the standard form. So let's look at an example. Now with this example, basically we're just taking an equation that's in standard form and writing other equations that are actually the same as this one. They're equivalent. So to do that, you would multiply or divide all the parts by the same value. Now even if you're dividing all the parts, it's the same as multiplying by a fraction. So we're really just multiplying all the parts by the same value, whether it's a fraction or a whole number. And that gives you equivalent equations that are equivalent to the one that we started with. So we're going to start with multiplying by -2. Now you can pick any number you want. I just randomly picked a -2, haphazardly decided, well, I'm going to use -2 for this one. And so when you do that, remember you have to then distribute, so it'd be -2 times x, -2 times the 4y, and -2 times the 3. Don't forget to multiply the last part. You have to multiply all the parts to get an equivalent equation. So in this case, it would be -2x minus 8y equals -6. Careful with your positives and negatives as well. Another example, since I said to write 2 equations, would be 3 times the quantity x plus 4y equal to 3. So we're multiplying the whole equation by the 3. So this time I chose a positive number. So 3x plus 12y equals 9. Again, remember distributing and multiplying all the parts. So that I can put up a note down here at the bottom. So when you are doing this and rewriting your equations, you need to show all your work and show what you are multiplying or dividing by. So basically what I'm asking for is this step here. So you have to show this and how you're getting to this part. Next, example 2. We're going to write an equation in standard form of the line that goes through the point 2, 2 and the point 4, -2. So to do this, we have to first find the slope. So we're going to call slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember the subscripts, the 2 and the 1, are just to identify that those are 2 different x's and 2 different y's. So this is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. And then you plug them in, so y2 is -2 minus y1, which is a +2. x2 is 4 minus x1, which is a +2. Then you simplify, so we get a -4 on top, +2 on bottom. -2 is my slope. Next, we're going to either use point slope form or or slope-intercept form, then we'll get to standard form. You always have to start with one of these two. You cannot start with standard form. Okay? The only time we can start with standard form is if we have word problems that are set up in a way that gives us directly a standard form equation. If you just have 2 points, you have to start with your point slope or your slope-intercept formats to write your equations first, and then we'll do a rewrite. So let's start with our point slope. So that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We already found our slope is -2, and then we need a point. So you pick one of the points from on top, doesn't matter which one. I'm going to go ahead and use that one. So y minus y1 is a negative, or the y is a -2. So I'm going to do a +2 there. The slope is -2. X minus x, the x that I'm using is the 4. And so that is my point slope equation. If I do slope-intercept, y equals mx plus b. So we would plug in our slope, which is -2. I'm going to use one of my points so that I can find the b, because the only other part of the equation I need is the b. So we'll use one of our points. I'll go ahead and use the other one this time, the 2 and the 2. Make sure you put the x and the y in the correct spot. The x goes here, the y goes there. Then we're going to simplify. 2 equals -4 plus b. Add 4 to both sides. So that 6 is equal to b. Don't forget to write your final equation. Y equals -2x plus 6. Okay, so that is our slope-intercept form. And we have our point slope form next to that. So you don't have to do both of these. There is an or here. You only have to do one of those. I'm just showing you both methods at the same time. Once you've written the equation in one of those 2 formats, you then do a rewrite in standard form. So we would start with our y plus 2 equals -2 times x minus 4. We'll do a rewrite. So you're going to distribute y plus 2 equals -2x plus 8. Don't forget your positives and negatives. Be extra careful with those. -2 times -4. Make a plus 8. Minus the 2 from both sides. Get y equals -2x plus 6, which looks just like our slope-intercept form. And remember, standard form has the x and the y on the same side. So I'm going to add the 2x. Remember, do the opposite to both sides. So I get a 2x. Y is a positive y. -2 and a +2 make a 0. That's how they go away. And then you have a positive 6 on the other side. That is our standard form of the equation. Note, the x must go first. You must put the x first. If you do not put the x first and then the y second and the constant third, then it's not in standard form. And it will take points off. So make sure it's in standard form. This is standard form with the x first. Then if we did our slope-intercept form, it's already y equals -2x plus 6. All we got to do is move our 2x over. So it's just like what we did in the previous side. So 2x plus y equals 6. You get the exact same thing regardless of how you start. So you can start with your point slope or slope-intercept, and they will get you to the same standard form equation. Last example, we're going to find the missing coefficient in an equation that's in standard form, and then we'll write the completed equation. So you'll be given a point, you'll be given an equation, and we're going to be missing a part. In this case, we're missing the coefficient of x. We're missing the a value. Okay, that's got to be a number, so we have to find out what that number is. So to do that, first we're going to plug the point that we have into the equation for x and y. So that's going to represent our x and y. So I have ax plus 4y equals 6. Remember, I'm trying to find the a. That's the coefficient of the x. So my x is 2. So a times 2 plus 4 times y is 0, equals 6. It's not always going to be this nice. Sometimes you will have to actually multiply a number with the 4. It's not going to always turn out to be 0. It depends on the point that you're given. In this case, we were given a 0 for y. So that would be 2 times a plus 0 equals 6. I went ahead and just wrote in that step. Note that whether it's a times 2 or 2 times a, it's the exact same thing. So typically we put the number in front of the coefficient that we're multiplying with. So that's 2a equals 6, and then you divide both sides by 2. A is 3. So we solved for a, we plugged in our numbers, we solved for a, that was our second step, which we naturally just kind of went into. Then last, you're going to write your completed equation. So this is the a, so that's the number that goes in front of the x. So that's 3x plus 4y equals 6. That is my standard form equation for the graph shown. So now we have a few problems to practice, one of each type. So remember, these will go on the left-hand side of your notebook. Everything else should be on the right-hand side of your notebook. And I will check these in class next time.